In this episode, we're going to explore 5 decisions that repeatedly appear in stories of people whose health dramatically improves. These decisions may not always feel huge or powerful in the moment. In fact, they may feel small, even insignificant. But over time, these are important decisions that change the conditions the body is operating within. And when those conditions change, biology and physiology can follow. We see that people who experience meaningful changes in their health often do not begin with a single dramatic intervention. Instead, what tends to happen first is a shift in the conditions they are living in day to day. This can take different forms depending on the person, but there are some common threads. The first is the decision to pause and reevaluate the direction of their current healthcare plan. This is the moment where someone steps outside of automatic mode and begins asking more intentional questions about what is happening and what might need to change. It's not about rejecting medical care, but it's about creating enough space to see the full picture more clearly and have room to make your own decisions and ask questions. This is often the first point where someone moves from reacting to their condition to evaluating what may be contributing to it. The second is the decision to address what is driving the body into chronic stress. For some, it involves stepping away from a work environment that has been placing them under constant strain. For others, it looks like addressing ongoing emotional stress that has been present for years but never fully acknowledged. In some cases, it involves restructuring daily life to allow for more rest, more support, and more stability rather than pushing through fatigue or stress or overriding physical signals. This step can involve difficult changes, such as modifying work conditions, setting boundaries, or even separating yourself from unhealthy relationships. Reducing chronic stress is one of the most impactful shifts a person can make because it deeply affects hormonal balance, immune regulation, and inflammation. The third decision is the decision to support the body consistently rather than occasionally. This is where people shift away from short bursts of effort and instead begin creating stable, repeatable inputs. Regular nourishment, predictable sleep routines, and daily practices such as moving our body in healthy ways or engaging in prayer or meditation all contribute to creating a more stable internal environment. This is where consistency matters more than intensity. The fourth is learning how to tune in to your intuition to understand what it is your body needs moment to moment. Instead of working against the body, people start working with it. Many of us may push through fatigue, override pain, or ignore symptoms in an effort to maintain normalcy. But people who begin to listen to their intuition shift towards listening to what their body is telling them and responding to it more appropriately, which over time improves our intuition, allows us to speak more fluently with our body, reduces internal strain, and supports recovery processes. The fifth is the decision to stay engaged long enough for their biology and physiology to change. This may be one of the most important and most challenging decisions to make, but biological systems do not shift overnight. Inflammation resolves over time, hormones rebalance gradually, and the nervous system recalibrates through repeated experience. The people who begin to see change are those who continue making supportive decisions even when results are not immediate. This is the point where many people stop, but it is also the point where change is most likely to begin accumulating. To understand why these specific changes can have such a measurable effect, it helps to look at how the body responds to inputs and daily behavior over time. Your environment, your behaviors, your stress levels, your nutrition, and your internal emotional state all feed into systems that regulate how your body operates. So instead of thinking about a single cause, it's more accurate to think about the body responding to patterns of input over time. One of the most influential systems involved in this process is the stress response. When you are under chronic stress, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis becomes activated over long periods of time. This affects cortisol rhythm, which in turn influences inflammation, immune signaling, and hormone balance. Chronic stress has been shown to alter estrogen and progesterone signaling and increase inflammatory activity in tissues. This is where the connection becomes concrete. Changes in daily stress exposure can directly influence hormone signaling and inflammation. Closely connected to this is the nervous system. When the body is in a sustained fight or flight state, resources are directed towards immediate survival rather than long-term repair. Blood flow, immune activity, and cellular energy are all influenced by whether the body perceives safety or threat. When someone begins to feel safer through changes in their environment, relationships, or daily structure, the nervous system can shift towards a state that supports repair, improved circulation, and reduced inflammatory signaling. This explains why changes in environment or relationships can affect physical symptoms even when no treatment has changed yet. Another layer to this is gene expression. Research in epigenetics has shown that environmental and behavioral inputs influence which genes are activated or suppressed. This includes genes involved in inflammation, detoxification, and immune regulation. While genetics provide a blueprint, the way that blueprint is expressed is responsive to lived experience. Decisions that reduce stress, improve nutrition, and create more supportive environments can influence these expression patterns over time. Inflammation is also highly responsive to input. It is not a fixed state. It fluctuates based on factors like stress, sleep, diet, and environmental exposure. When multiple pro-inflammatory inputs are present at once, inflammation remains elevated. But when these inputs are reduced, inflammatory signaling can begin to decrease even without a single targeted intervention. Finally, it is important to understand that the body responds to patterns rather than isolated events. A single good decision does not change physiology in a meaningful way, but repeated good decisions made consistently over time can. Those patterns gradually shift how systems function, and that is where measurable change begins to occur. If you are listening to this and trying to figure out where this fits into your own life, the most helpful place to begin is not with changing everything at once. It is to begin with one area where your current patterns may not be supporting you as well as they could. Start by observing your day-to-day inputs without judgment. Look at your stress levels, your routines, your environment, your nutrition, and your lifestyle habits. Notice where your body might be under the most strain. This awareness often points you towards the first meaningful change, and it opens the door to begin listening to the intuition and wisdom of your own body. From there, choose one decision that you feel will make the most impact. Again, listening to your body, appreciating it, and using your intuition can be such a powerful way to make decisions regarding your health. The goal is to create a shift you can repeat and stick with. As that change becomes part of your baseline, then you can begin layering in additional changes. This gradual approach allows your body to adapt without becoming overwhelmed and makes it more likely that the changes will stick. It is also important to recognize that reducing strain is just as important as adding support. In some cases, removing a constant stressor, such as an unhealthy relationship or toxic work environment, or a source of daily irritation, can create more impact than adding another intervention. An intervention is equivalent to putting out a fire, but removing the stressor is the same as not starting the fires in the first place. So if you keep starting fires, you have to keep putting them out. What's more effective, to stop lighting those fires or to get a more powerful hose? Above all, give your body time to respond. The changes you make today begin influencing your internal environment immediately, but the visible effects often take longer to appear. Consistency and staying with it, even when you don't see anything change immediately, is what allows those effects to accumulate. Healing rarely changes in a single moment. It changes as the conditions surrounding the body begin to shift, and those conditions are shaped by the decisions you make day after day after day. Even when outcomes feel uncertain, you can still influence the direction that your body moves in. Oftentimes, the turning point is not when symptoms disappear. It is when you give your body the time and support it needs to heal. In our next episodes, we'll continue building on this idea by looking at other major factors that influence whether our body is able to repair, regulate, and recover over time. So stay tuned, and as always, go be renegades.